Hey everyone, my name is Tyler Thompson, and today I'm going to be discussing Burmese python detection in the Florida Everglades. The problem here is that there's not a highly effective method to detect pythons, and this is due to the fact that pythons are very cryptic in the Everglades environment. The first method I'd like to discuss is infrared detectors. These are electronic devices that sense infrared light coming off of an item in its line of sight. And these can be used as perspective devices that are capable of detecting animals in the wild. Infrared detectors have very high speed operation, and this allows for quick detection periods and can really limit field time. You can also mount infrared detectors, and this allows for remote detection. You can mount them on things like UAVs or trees. Or if you have people in the field, you can also use them in ground searches, and they're effective there. The main glaring con here is that pythons are cold-blooded, so their temperature is likely going to match that of the environment and make it extremely difficult to get an infrared reading. Things like vegetation and moisture can disrupt detection, which may be very difficult in the Everglades environment. And finally, there's a very small detection range on infrared detectors. The second method I like to discuss is environmental DNA. This method detects fragments of DNA in aquatic environments and uses them to estimate areas that organisms are in. And these DNA fragments get there from shed cells of organisms that are moving in the water. So the environmental DNA method allows us to estimate python occurrence in an area, and this is an advantageous method for the Everglades because it's a very wet environment and we gather eDNA from the water. This method also has very limited field time. All you need is an empty bottle and you can take your water sample and then head back to the lab. Environmental DNA only focuses on one point in time, so you may gather environmental DNA from an area and the python may have already left by the time you get back to try and detect it. If the water temperature is too high, eDNA can deteriorate because it's a very sensitive genetic material, and environmental factors such as wind and water flow can move eDNA out of the water and create challenges. The third method I like to discuss is scent trails for mating. When pythons try to mate, they follow a species-specific chemical signal, and this leads them to a potential mate. We can also use Judas snakes, which are already captured pythons that we release back into the wild with a radio chip, and we hope that they'll lead us to more wild pythons. This is a beneficial method because these chemical trails are species specific, so we won't have to deal with bycatch and we'll only be working with pythons. This is a non-invasive method, so you won't have to worry about damaging the environment. And both genders are attracted to scents during mating season, so you're not restrained to just one gender. And this method can either bring pythons out through the use of chemical lures, or it can lead us to them through the use of Judas snakes. Precipitation can wipe out chemical trails, and this may be a problem in the wet season in the Everglades. Obviously, this method is going to be limited to mating season, and these scent trails only cover small areas. Additionally, this may be an ineffective method if you don't know that pythons are in the area for sure. So my recommendation is that we should use both. I believe that if we used environmental DNA to determine whether a python is in the area or not, we could then deploy chemical lures or Judas snakes and attempt to find them in that area. These are some of the acknowledgements, the articles that I used to create this project. I'd like to thank Dr. Michael Avery in particular He did some really great work on detection methods of pythons in the Everglades, and he also did some nice work on following scent trails. And that's going to be the end of my video, guys. Thank you for watching. Please leave any comments, concerns, or questions down below. Thanks.